to Open Line. I have two great guests with me here tonight who happen to be running for the school board in Metro Nashville Public Schools from District 8. Adam Barese, Gini, Pupo-Walker. Thank you so much for being here tonight, having a great conversation as we have the previous two nights with our District 2 and District 6 candidates. By the way, there are 3 contested races on the school board ballot. So I hope you will get out tomorrow if you haven't already and vote. That's what this is all about, is having your voice heard. We're going to get to the lines first. This is still Open Line. It is your chance to ask questions. I've been monitoring our Facebook feed as well, and not a lot of questions, just a lot of folks saying 2 great candidates. Woo-woo. So you know what? I think that's a great problem to have for voters. Let's get to the line, though. We have Lucy on the line. Hi, Lucy.
Hey, y'all.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, I guess I have to say it too. 2 great candidates.
Yes. Thank you.
I'm saying that from a taxpayer's heart. I do not mind paying taxes. What I mind is if the funds aren't used like they were your own money, you know? And some schools are doing real well and some schools aren't, and I think you really need to look at it that way. I've learned some more things tonight watching you guys. The 2 previous shows, I didn't learn as much. I didn't feel connected as much until I've seen you guys tonight talk. My wish is whoever loses, I hope the loser amongst you 2 continues to support public education in Nashville. I want to make a comment about charter schools. Charter schools are the newest trend, and I think sometimes some parents, and it's kind of like the trend nowadays to be trendy, feel like they should be sending their kids to charter schools because they might be missing out on something. And you talk about accountability, they're not taking accountability maybe for their students, and that's where a principal comes involved in all of this. Principals now seem to be politicians, and they're not supporting these teachers. And so if a parent is having a problem with the teacher is caught in between the principal and the parent. And after this thing that Phil Williams did, that's a classic example of the pressure that's put on these teachers and the favoritism, like this is one big frat party is what all our school systems turned into, and it shouldn't be that way. That's not fair. Now, as far as transparency, I don't understand why they've taken Metro Council meetings off of public TV, but I would like to see those come back. But I would like to see school board meetings broadcast on public TV. They've added a 3rd channel for educational cartoons and whatnot, but I think we need some current affairs on our local public TV, because not everybody has cable TV, and I'm one of them. But I don't mind paying my taxes for public schools. I think community schools are where it's at. And I just think that the parents who are working 2 and 3 jobs, that they knee-jerk reaction to, I should put my kid in a charter school. And I really think we need to focus back personally on our community schools, because I think we're missing out there. And I'm with Taylor on the reading, because I was one of those kids that was classified as mentally retarded and given up on in the 3rd grade. And when I was going to the library checking out books and reading, the teacher accused me of lying until she brought me down to the library and saw that I had been checking out these books and I had read these books for myself, and that's why I was commenting in class. She thought that I was getting it from somebody sitting beside me, and that made me really feel bad, because my scores showed that I was reading well below grade level, but I actually was comprehending. So push the reading. Thank you for letting me just ramble on here. And like I said, if the one of you 2 that loses, I hope you stay involved with Metro Schools no matter what it is and what capacity. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you very much for chiming in tonight. And I want to jump off something Lucy was saying, but she talked about the culture in some of the schools, and I would hope that it is not the frat culture in every school. I just can't believe that across the entire district. But I know from teachers that there is a culture of fear among them of speaking out, of speaking up when they see something wrong, that they won't be renewed or that they will be fired. How do you change that culture? And do you think it is widespread, or do you think it's isolated? Gini?
I think it's building to building. I mean, I think, and I don't think, I know that there are schools in our district where there's tremendous trust between the leadership and the staff. You see principals leave and go to a different building, and teachers will follow them. Teachers will, I say, will walk on hot coals for a great principal. And they will abandon ship for a weak principal. And so where you see high teacher turnover in a building, not that they're leaving the profession, they're leaving the building, it's because of that lack of trust. And so, again, that's where I think that hierarchy, right? So who is monitoring those principals, and who's looking at climate and satisfaction surveys and teacher voice, and how are we exercising voice in a way that is safe and productive and helpful? And so, you know, I always say schools are a microcosm of a larger society. Schools, you have all kinds of personalities and all kinds of issues and community issues, and so you have to have great leadership that can manage all of that.
And would that be high on your list as a school board member to say, what are these protocols? What are these policies? Who's doing this?
Sure, sure. And I think it's really around that leadership development. I think the single most important person in a building is actually the principal. Hands down. A great principal can move mountains in a building. We've seen it time and again. A weak principal that's not supported, not coached, not mentored, perhaps was promoted too soon, can set a school back, right? And so how are we supporting principals that need help, and how are we providing the autonomy that Adam talks about? I think you can have a continuum of autonomy where you really give tons of flexibility to really seasoned, experienced, proven principals, and then you're supporting ones that need more help. And then you're listening to feedback from teachers in a way that they feel safe doing that.
Adam?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. We can start with the top, and let's start with, as I understand it, Dr. Joseph's decision to take over the hierarchical role of HR from his chief of staff early on in his tenure. We're seeing the ramifications of that with the most recent incident in middle school, and that was more than tragic. That again goes back to the trust that everybody gets to watch. Just it's not only the person taking that action, it's everything they did once those actions were reported. I mean, we just had a football coach, put on suspension because of allegations that of sexual issues within his organization. Dr. Joseph is still there, and we've known about these, or he's known about these issues for a long period of time. You start there, but then you walk it down, and when you start from the top with a questionable leadership, it flows down, and that's unfortunate. And then you create an aura of untrustworthiness, fear that you're going to, if you do turn somebody in, you're not going to have a job in the future. Principals fearing for their jobs, teachers fearing for their jobs. It's not a good working environment. These are clear signs of a failing organization. It's things that need to be corrected immediately. I do believe, though, that the autonomy, minus the rogue principal, the autonomy of principals is really important to help make that, create that relationship. There are going to be people currently in the positions that just are not fit for those roles, even after training and development, all the work you do with them, the oversight, and then they'll just have to be moved out and find the right person for those jobs. But with the 180 plus schools we have in Metro Nashville Public Schools, we need to do something different, because we continue coming back. I'm looking at the page here, and I left this in front of me with all the raw score numbers, with the percent changes from last year, and it reminds me what I'm fighting for. And it's about the kids. It's about making sure when they get out of high school, they're ready for the real world. They're ready for college, or they're ready for their next step in life. This is not saying that. This is saying something completely different. You
have brought up some of the numbers, the 9% proficiency in what, ninth grade math?
This was high school proficiency, okay. Yes.
And only 9%,
9%
of students were proficient in math. How quickly do you think, with the right policies, with the right programs in place, the right leadership in place, those numbers can really show significant positive growth? What's realistic to expect? Gini?
So, I've done some work, and this is called school improvement, right? The land of in education speak, right? And school improvement is really hard work, and often controversial, because sometimes you're really shaking things up. Sometimes you're handing a school to a charter. Sometimes you're what they call fresh starting an entire staff. Sometimes you are bringing in very heavy-duty top-down control. I don't think there's one easy answer. I think that, but I do know that school improvement takes time. It doesn't happen overnight, but it can begin. And so, it's not to get too technical here, but the new sort of evaluation system for schools under the new Every Student Succeeds Act, there's a lot of weight now on how we rate schools based on growth. So even if you're starting at a 9%, are you showing growth year to year? And if you are, how are you doing that? How can we replicate that? And if you're not, what are we going to do about that? Are we listening to families? Are we using partners? Are we using evidence-based programs? Are we really doing what it takes for that particular school? And it takes time. And so really serious turnaround can often take up to 5 years. And of course, kids don't have 5 years to give.
Right, no, this is all they have.
And so it's really difficult when you're starting so low. But frankly, we have to have the hard conversations. That's, I think, why both of us are running.
Adam?
Nail on the head right there. It really is a matter of time, money, allocated resource versus the right people in the right job, social emotional learning being really embedded into our school system, not just at the student level, but at the teacher level, so they know how to act with the students that are truly in the potential of failing. And failing doesn't mean that they are going to a less prestigious college. It means that their life may not be suitable to what they really were looking for as a child. In kindergarten, they were coming out looking at one thing. I'm going to be a firefighter, I'm going to be a policeman, I'm going to be a banker, whatever it is. When they get out of high school with these numbers, they're not going to be any of those.
No.
So it's going to take time. You can't drop, you can drop 30% in 1 year, which we did in science. You can't raise that up as quickly, so it is going to take more time. But if we put the right people in place, the right resources in place, the right mentality in place, people like Gini are really good at understanding those places. And I would need people in those right positions that understand what they're doing within the public school system. I think we can raise them. And 5 years, if we can do it in 5 years, we're making great headway. But what do we want as successful? Do we want to be equal to Williamson County? That's a great goal to have. We have more problems than them, but we can still strive for that bar. And that's something that maybe we put on top of us. Can we do it in 5 years? Can we do it in 8 years?
I've taken so much heart over the last 3 nights talking to each of the candidates in the districts that are contested, and just seeing the quality that is out there for voters to choose from. And like you both have said, like our commenters on Facebook have said, our callers have said, you all seem fantastic. You also seem very similar to one another. So I would ask you probably a tough question as you sit next to each other. What differentiates you when people go to the polls tomorrow? They have to choose one. How do they pick? Gini?
No, I think, I think different approach, different style, different background. So I have a long history of sort of in the trenches, hard work, in tough schools, working in community, working with families, but also working what's called grass top. So I have really good relationships with council members, with other school board members, with the mayor, with elected officials at the legislature. I think I understand how policy is made and how policy impacts practice. And I think that's what I bring to bear. I don't bring a business mindset. I don't necessarily consider myself a fiscal expert, but I'm smart enough to figure out who those people are and how to tap them. But I think, do you want someone who has sort of an insider's view of how the system works, or do you want someone who comes in with sort of a different set of eyes who may see things totally differently?
Adam?
We agree again.
Stop it already.
It really is true. I mean, I don't have the teaching experience. I mean, that's clear. She spent time at Central, working within the administration. I'm coming with a lot of experience from the business perspective, running a company, understanding what a board needs to do from a board level. I know Gini has actually been on boards as well, though, so it's not saying she doesn't have experience there. I am fiscally in tuned to understand the issues, and I'm a numbers guy. But I think the big difference is that I am coming in with a different set of eyes. Gini is very knowledgeable about a lot of things within the school system, so it just depends what you're looking for. I don't think either of us are going to burn down the ship coming in, but I think you're going to get a little different approach. We've always said, I said, she's the PC version of myself. But you're also not going to get from either one of us what you saw on the board this past year. or the past years. I think we're both going to come in with a perspective that it is about the students. We care about them. One of the things that we decided on early was we were going to do this the right way. We were going to show our strengths. We weren't going to bash each other, and because we needed to show we need to show the school board how to do things right. And you can compete with people, and they're not even competing. They're working together.
Right.
9 people to take care of this close to $1 billion budget with 70,000 kids' lives on the line, and they're fighting with each other. And that's something we both know needs to change today.
So how do you become a part of the board? Because there are existing members who will be staying, obviously, who aren't up for election. How do you become a part of that culture and better it? Because some of that is going to stay, right? Adam?
That was a lot of the time I spent working on the organizational leadership, frontline management, looking at how you can take people and transition their thought. They're not wrong. You know, we talk about, a lot of people talk about Amy as, you know, being hot-headed, but she has opinions that are you know, that she's driving down, that she truly believes in. They're not wrong opinions. Nobody's opinion is wrong. Will bring up things. He has a different style to them, but you got to work with everyone, you know, and you got to be able to take their positives that they will bring out and be able to speak with them the way that they understand that they're used to being spoken to, and listen to them. I think a lot of times what I saw on there was people heard the exact opposite of what they, you know, what they wanted to say, and they got angry and just fought back, or they have history there, and it's working with their history to identify, hey, we talked about charter schools. There's still a lot of anger in this district about charter schools. They're here now. There's some performing really well, some that aren't. We need to all look at that. We need to say, hey, what's good for the kids, what's not good for the kids? But most importantly, how do we improve these numbers together? And we all have to sit here as a board, and we're responsible for this. We, as 9 people, we are responsible for the outcome of these schools. And if we can get everybody to agree on that, we've come a long way, and I think we'll work better together. Not saying there won't be an occasional tiff, but saying that I think that a majority of the people will come together and be able to make decisions in a rational way.
Gini?
So I'm a pragmatist. I've always been sort of a consensus builder. You know, I think it's really, and a lot of it's like old-fashioned politicking. Like, what is it that you care about? Where are we aligned? Let's push together on that, and I'll support you on other things if you support me on other things. Let's figure out where we have sort of where we overlap in that Venn diagram and where we don't, and where can we have some success together and build trust. There's no question that philosophically I might have a different approach than other people on the board, but I know every single person on the board right now, and I've worked with them in one capacity or another. And so I think going into those relationships, I have a sense for who they are, what they care about. I have a really good sense of what their district is, what the school. I've been in almost every single school in metro schools. I know the communities that they're serving. I feel like I have a sense for who their community leaders are, the voices that they're hearing, and maybe I can help them on some of those issues, right? And so, but I'm a realist. I think it's going to be hard work. No question about it. I think that this coming year is going to really be a tough year, and so I have eyes wide open. I'm not under any illusion that it's going to be a big. We're going to hold hands and sing songs, but I think you're absolutely right that we have to focus on student outcomes, and everything needs to be pointing in that direction and rowing in the same direction.
Well, Gini, Adam, thank you for spending the last hour with us.
Pleasure.
And I just want to remind everybody once again, tomorrow's the day. You got to get out and vote. Polls open 7 a.m. They close at 7 p.m. Please make a plan to get out and vote if you have not already. And if you want to check out all of these open lines we've had over the last 3 days, they are on our Facebook page right now. You can look at District 2, District 6, and tonight's District 8.
Thank you so much.
Both of you all.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for being with us tonight. We'll see you again next week. Have a good one.
Good job, brother.